Welcome once again to the One The Lot pod on Talking Devils, your leading independent Manchester United podcast. Again, you're with me, your host, Harry from Fan Owned United, Stretford Ender. And I'm joined with the guys again. We've got a full house today. We've got Peter, who's a football author and a huge United fan, along with Steve, who's got a season ticket in the East Stand and has had that for over 25 years. Always nice when we can talk about a victory over the weekend. Those ones have been kind of few and far between and slightly more difficult to come across this season. But that's where we're obviously going to start. 1-0 win, away to Fulham. Obviously very scrappy guys, a last minute kind of win with Bruno getting on the score sheet after the 90th minute. Peter, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the game overall over the weekend?
It's kind of just a continuation of what we've seen all season. It was a very poor performance. And again, just everything about it. Like, there was no real style of play. There was no real. He just didn't really know what United were trying to do. The whole game plan. I know he's talked about going direct, and we've got the players like Hoyland when Rashford wasn't playing, but Garnacho. But it was just a lot of long balls to try and bypass the midfield. And in fairness, when you saw that midfield of McTominay and Eriksen, you could kind of understand why they were bypassing it. But it felt like we were at Fulham's level. Like Fulham were 14th, 15th in the league. It kind of felt like that kind of game, like two sides of equal standing. Didn't really, we didn't make an imprint on the game. We didn't take it over. We didn't dominate it. Didn't have that many chances at all. Obviously, bar the disallowed goal at the start, which, again, it would have been another terrible weekend for VAR and the refs. But I don't think you can really. We should be able to make more chances than that against the Fulham side. So yeah, it was really, very, very poor. And again, a moment of magic, a moment of inspiration has kind of got us out of jail. And again, everything's just so hard to get for us. Like, every win is so. We've won one game all season in all competitions by more than one goal, and that was Palace in the Carabao. It does just feel like we're any win we get is almost like a bit lucky or a bit fluky, or something goes our way, or someone does something great like Bruno. But it's, again, hopefully we can build on it. But there's nothing there to be confident that we've either turned a corner or things are going to be moving in an upward trajectory. So delighted we got the 3 points and relieved, but it's just, there's just a lot of things going on that just aren't great with us.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stats, I've got them up here. 18 shots from Fulham, 12 from us. They had 3 on target. We had 5. We nipped the possession by 55%. They had 45%. But overall, a pretty even game. And obviously, we were conceding a lot of chances. Steve, what were your thoughts? What did you think about the game over the weekend?
Well, I don't think they really had any very big chances. I think Onana made some saves that you'd think he should. I'm a little bit concerned about his parrying. A lot of his saves kind of come back into the 6-yard box. So, hopefully we don't get bit by any of them in the future. But I think I'm not sure it was a poor performance. I think it was just a normal performance by our standards now. This season, it's been consistently bad. So saying it's bad, it's just consistent. Like, when we win convincingly, that Palace performance wasn't a standard performance for Man United this season. That Palace performance was a good performance. We've really dropped in level. Just to say that, we played badly. We didn't. We played to the level that we've been playing. So it's not out of character. And it doesn't surprise me when we play badly anymore, or to that level anymore. So Peter's right. We were performing at a level below the top 6, top 8. That's just where we are at the moment, and we have the players to perform better. But where's that coming from? You've not seen it from anyone. We've got 100 injuries all season. We've got, in most of the games, we've not got the ball. We are relying on moments of inspiration. And, at Fulham last year, it was a late winner. Garnacho in the last minute. This year, Fulham away, last minute winner. They are great moments. But I think last year, it was the last performance before the World Cup, and that was a bit of a relief. But also, like a really good kind of vindicated. We were pushing all game. We looked a bit better, and this time it is relief to the point where you're not absolutely ecstatic. You're thinking, how many times are we going to have to bail ourselves out and really, really fight? But yeah, I don't think it was brilliant the other day, and yeah, it's just not really too surprising.
Yeah. No, it's funny you mentioned that as to how the bar has dropped, and I think it's a massive shame. Really, it's not the type of club that we should be. The standard should be us going out and putting in kind of top performances and winning games by 3 or 4. But obviously, that hasn't happened for a while. And looking back, like apart from the Carabao Cup game you mentioned, there's not been too many games where we have actually gone out and beaten opposition comfortably. Had a like City, for example, on the weekend, how they went out and scored 6. They completely dominated the game from kind of start to finish. I can't remember too many of those. And again, just looking more into the kind of detail, only 12 Premier League goals this season we've scored. And there's a few teams on 9, which is the lowest in the league overall. I mean, we're on par at the moment, I think, with Forest, and Luton have scored 10. So there's obviously a clear problem with us scoring goals. And I mean, despite the fact that we've obviously bought players over the summer specifically to add to that department, why do you think, Peter, we've still got such an issue with being creative and scoring goals?
Yeah, I think it kind of is it down to tactics, it's down to the players. The whole tactic is kind of let's win the ball high up. I know Ten Hag kind of talked about we do really good at that. But how often do we win the ball high up and then instantly give it away? Stats can be deceiving. We get the ball and it's like, oh wait, we just pass it back to them. So it counts as a regain up top, but it doesn't really lead to anything. We don't make any chances. This doesn't seem to be any patterns in the attack really, and Højlund hasn't had a chance in the last 2 league games. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know people are like, oh, he hasn't scored yet in the league, but you cannot 20-year-old lad come into a team that's in absolute ruins and coming off an injury, and he doesn't get any chances. He gets no service. There's no I think he's doing a lot of the right things, but there's no one no one's in sync with him. Making good runs, no one plays in the ball. He a lot of hard running. His hold of play is great. Just a lot of good things, but you can't really think. I know he's missed a few big chances, according to the stat sheets. You just can't really. You look at Haaland on the other side for City. Haaland can miss 3 chances, but he'll get a hat trick as well. You can't just have 1 chance a game or a half chance. So him, yeah, and then it obviously doesn't help that Rashford's been in really poor form this season. Bruno, I know he scored. I thought he did not play well at all. He wasn't taking the game with the scruff of the neck like he should, as a captain. As also with the injuries and the midfield he had behind him, it should be get me on the ball. I'm going to start trying to dictate this game. Obviously, Anthony has been Jesus. I thought Anthony, he was average last season, but you kind of were maybe it's his first season, he can improve. He's regressed so much. How much does that have to do with the off-field allegations against him? Again, we don't know the full details of that, but he does very much look like an absolute flop. So there just is no. Last year, Rashford was the go-to, and Bruno, and they're not performing, and then the whole thing just breaks down. So we're not, 12 goals in 11 league games it's diabolical. We're at -4 goal difference. It was an issue for large parts last season. This time last season, we were also in minus goal difference. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a historical thing at United at this point. I did an article on it, being it's everything since Fergie basically. We haven't had goals in our team for so long. We don't sustain pressure. We don't sustain attacks. It all very much is, can someone like pull something out of the bag, or like get a fluky goal, like bar Bruno this weekend. Like our wins recently have come from goals from like McTominay, Dallo, Maguire. Like you cannot rely on those guys to be bailing out. So it's a serious issue. And obviously we've Luton next weekend in the league, and you're kind of like, geez, if you can't put a few goals on them at home, who can you put goals on? So yeah, it's a major concern.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Luton are in pretty good form themselves. They put in a good performance yesterday and were unlucky not to beat Liverpool. So I mean, it's not going to be an easy game, the slightest. But another thing I wanted to pick up on, there was a banner in the away end that was obviously mentioned. The fans put up "Play like you mean it." Obviously, the effort has kind of been put into question. Quite disappointing, especially against City. I mean, I went up for that game and it was just the performance in general just seemed very lackluster. No real effort, going into that game, considering it was a derby, but also no real kind of plan. Or it didn't seem like the players were following the plan. That message, though, Steve, do you think it's something which the players would have picked up on and kind of hopefully will respond to, because that banner was pretty spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, McTominay came out before the game and I think said they've seen the banner, or he came out after the game. But yeah, he said that they saw the banner, they were talking about it. Listen, these players don't get paid without fans. They just don't. So whatever, if the fans are making a message as clear as day to you, you're doing something wrong. It doesn't matter who's telling you what in your ear from your own teams. If McTominay's got 4 or 5 people around him in his little hierarchy that are telling him, "Oh, you're great. You're not doing anything wrong. You're doing your best, all this," and then you've got away fans who are the best in the league bringing out a banner saying you're not doing enough, then you're not doing enough. Like, the fans are right, not your mates who are telling you, everything that you want to hear in your ear. So, how far will they take that? How far will that go? But we can't change their attitude, and we can't change their applications to the game. Only they can do that. So, it's going to be quite interesting to see. In the next couple of games, I know we've got 2 games this week. How we play and the effort that's put in, because I think there was a little bit more effort put in on Saturday, but again, the quality wasn't there. But you could see that there was a little bit more running, a little bit more fighting. I think we made more fouls than Fulham, which is nice. You want to be fighting. I think we made 15 fouls in that game. Fulham made 9. They also got 6 yellow cards from 9 fouls, which is quite interesting. Which we can talk about the refs all day long in that game. But I think the players they know that they haven't done enough, and they say it after every loss or every draw. But translating that onto the field for the next game and remotivating themselves is a different thing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that banner was spot on. Going back to the City game, just at the end of the day, you're not going to win every single game, right? But
that didn't feel like a derby.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. And if anything, it felt like City were playing at home. And almost it was nearly like a training ground like session or practice match. There was just no fight. Everyone was lackluster. Like I said, on top of that, it didn't seem like there was much of a plan. We weren't really pressing as a unit going forward. There were some players going forward, some weren't. They were just leaving gaps. So yeah, I mean, something needed to be said. I think at least, or message needed to be sent across to the players, which I hope they picked up on. And I guess another thing, coming from that game was Roy Keane obviously mentioned how he felt the characteristics that Bruno's got doesn't necessarily warrant him to have the captaincy, because again, in that game, in the City game, he was slightly petulant. a lot of moaning, a lot of waving his arms in the air. Didn't really look too much of a leader. Obviously responded with a goal on the weekend. I mean, what do you think about that, Peter? Do you think Bruno is the right man for the job? I mean, this is coming from the best United captain pretty much of all time. He's saying that he doesn't think he's the right man for the job.
It's hard to know. Like this season, he hasn't warranted the armband. He's been awful in most of the games, and he's the captain of a sinking ship at the moment. You have to place some responsibility on him as the captain of the leader of the team. It's weird because last season there was a lot of good about Bruno, and he's obviously well respected in the dressing room and well liked. But there are standards and levels at Man United that maybe he doesn't meet, and maybe that's the level we're at now. That like someone of his.
Oh, I think we lost you there, Steve. I'll let you carry on.
I think I knew what he was kind of getting at. Like the level that he's at, he is our best player when it's his day. I was thinking about this earlier and just how he affects a game with Portugal. So he's got 13 goal involvements in his last 10 games for Portugal. He's playing with better players, and you can see how his quality shines. Is he captain material? He might be, but in a team where there's a lot of disjoint, like it's quite disjointed in that kind of team. Is your captain someone who is going to be moaning, is going to be petulant, is going to be throwing his arms up like Ronaldo did? You need your captain to be solid and consistent and to get on with it and to get in the ref's ear in the right way, not someone who, as soon as he starts moaning, all the opposition fans start giving all jeers. So it's as a luxury player, if we're playing well, Bruno's great. If we're not playing well, he just doesn't do enough. So it's a really hard balance to find, because Man United, the way that we should be and the way that we see ourselves and the way our ambition is going, Bruno would be a great captain because he leads well when we're doing well. But the way that we are at the moment, and we're struggling, and we are a sinking ship, as Peter mentioned, is he the best person? I don't know. Who would be better? I don't know. So it's quite a funny one.
Yeah, exactly. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. What would be a better option? I'm not quite sure if there is one out there. But at the same time, like you said, when we're not playing the best, he's not really the best person to be leading the team, because he is, being petulant, throwing his arms up in the air, etc. And I guess that's when the kind of captain earns his stripes, right? That's when you need leaders to step up in your team and turn things around in a game. And that's my only, concern now. I think when Maguire was relinquished of the captaincy, I think everyone thought that Bruno was the best choice at the time. But I have to say doubts are kind of creeping in from my mind now to see if he is actually the best long-term replacement. But like you said, it's not too many options out there. On the flip side, however, we gave a lot of, I wouldn't say abuse as such, but, Maguire was obviously under the limelight quite a bit last season. And I think everyone was quite keen to have him sold pretty much in the summer. To be fair to him, over the last 4 or 5 games, he's really turned that around. I mean, he was most probably one of our best players against Fulham. So, I mean, with that coming back into the mix, or with him coming back into the mix and performing, do you think Ten Hag could potentially revert back to Maguire being captain?
No, 100% no, because one, you just can't do that. Like, it's like you've made the decision, you have to stand by it, that you did not think Harry Maguire was the right person to captain Man United. And I also think, like, it's kind of a two-way thing. Like, Maguire has done well since come back in. You have to give him credit. Like, even for like the mental side of it, like, I don't know how he's kept his head together on a personal level, and it must have been awful. And like being told every day that you're terrible at your job and continuing to go and work hard and bide your time. I still also do think that's kind of where we are as a team, that our best players are Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans, and Scott McTominay. Like like I was saying earlier, we play like a bottom six team. Maguire and Evans, we sit deep. They are good at heading the ball. They're good at basic defending. McTominay thrives in chaos. Like he's good in that, like just pinball in the box kind of stuff. But like we're not going to go anywhere as a team or a football club. If Eric Ten Hag wants to do anything with this team, there's no way that you can have Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans start and even McTominay in midfield. It does feel like they're suited to the kind of way we're playing, which is like really bad football.
Well, it's like Leicester, isn't it? They were Leicester starting centre.
Yeah, like what my mates we were laughing. Like I've got to point out, like there's no point even getting angry and upset about United. You're kind of like, you have to laugh at it, how bad it's been. Like, and you're kind of like, well, I've done this before. I can revert back to this. Like, I can respond. You know, we've done it every 2 years for the last decade. But I was kind of like, geez, that United back four and midfield too. Like, you didn't know. You'd think it was Fulham's back six. Like, it had that feel of like, God, that's a bad back six. Like, there's no good passer. It just was very low level. And yeah, like it can be like Maguire's doing well. He's not good enough for Man United to be where we want to be, or as you said earlier, Steve, like where we kind of think we should be. And like the we're Man United thing we all have, like we're all arrogant as a fan base because of what we grew up on. But like there's no way Maguire is going to be part of a Man United team that wins a Premier League. Mm-hmm. Probably because he'll be 45 by the time we win one, but he's not. He's not at that level. Like, and as you said about Bruno, like you need to consistently be at the top of your game. Like you can't be going through like months of terrible performances. Then you have one or two good games, and then everyone's like, "Let's give him a new contract or something." Like that's where exactly. Like that's where the standards have fallen off so hard at the club, and that does come from the top of the club in terms of like, does it really matter if we don't win? Like, what's gonna who cares? Like, I thought like bringing on Martial was just like how I don't know how we're relying on this guy for the goal. So those guys are like, Maguire's a good pro, he's a good guy, but he's just not good enough for. If Maguire was leaving, there's no way Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal would buying him. So why should we be like, let's like keep him in the team? If when Martinez gets back, he has to come in. And then I've no idea what's on Varane, but we do need new centre backs.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's definitely an area where we need to improve in terms of having options for our squad. But at the same time, I think, to be honest, with Maguire and his resurgence in form, I think the fact that he's not captain has helped him really. He doesn't have to deal with the stress and pressure of it. And fair play to him. He's obviously been doing something in training, listening to what Ten Hag wants of him, and he's been putting in decent performances. His passing's been pretty decent as well, to be fair, was against Fulham. But yeah, you're right. I don't think he's that would be the call to put the captaincy back with him. But Patrick joins us. Thanks, Patrick. He said, "Hi, gents. I'm a critic of Bruno's passing technique." Pretty specific there. But he was saying, what is captain material these days? Is Odegaard, Conor Gallagher, or Son a leader? Steve, what is captain material?
Well, I think that the players that have been mentioned, maybe not so much Conor Gallagher, because again, that he's in a struggling team, but Heung-min Son and Martin Odegaard, they lead by example. They consistently produce 7, 8, 9 out of 10 performances. Son had a bad season last year, and he still scored like 9 goals or something like that. They've lost their best player, and he's been given the captain's armband, and he's really performing. Maybe in a more central role as well. But yeah, captains produce. That's what captains should be doing. If you're the captain of the team, you should be putting in 8 out of 10 performances every single week, and that's a non-negotiable. Like you cannot drop a 2 out of 10 as a captain. Like it's just not possible, especially building a few results in a row. So yeah, I think with these people, Odegaard is so key to how Arsenal play. Heung-min Son, so key to how they play. He's been a pillar of consistency for them for years and years and years and years. And now that Kane's left, he's getting the opportunity to lead by example, and he's fully stepped into that role. So I think with Bruno, he does do that. But as I mentioned earlier, it's when we're good. I think Son or Odegaard can take the game by a scruff of the neck and potentially bring the level of their teammates up. So yeah, and that's what Roy Keane did. So as Patrick's mentioned there again, he's a once in a generation. He's a leader. He's no nonsense. He's biting into every tackle. Of course, that's what you want a captain to do. Bruno isn't that type of player. First of all, neither's Odegaard, neither's Son. They're the creatives. They're the people who should be bringing the team on to go and get goals and assists and everything like that. So it's a different kind of captaincy. But in the comment as well, he mentions that there's 5 or 6 leaders in the squad. We're just playing badly at the moment. I do agree, and we have mentioned that at points last season. I think in our end of season reviews, we had Shaw, we had Martinez, Varane, Casemiro, Bruno, Rashford, who were all leaders last season. It just so happens that 2 of them are playing at the moment. So yeah, we at the moment with Rashford injured, Bruno plays every game, of course. Luke Shaw hasn't played this season. Varane he stubs his toe every 3 or 4 minutes. Martinez got brought back too soon, and then he's injured himself and he's out for another few months. So yeah, a lot of those leaders and people who lead by example haven't been playing, and that's true. And you can't just expect people to come in and be those kind of characters. But yeah, I think a captain should be leading by example and really making your team perform 10 or 12, 15% better, really to achieve the results that you need to achieve.
I think, just to add to that, I think you're dead right by saying, like, when the going's good, Bruno's great, but he is kind of like the perfect personification of what we are. When it's going well, he's great. When it's going bad, he's absolutely awful. And he does make very the melodramatic throwing the arms and all that sort of stuff. Where you want when you're losing, your captain to kind of calm everyone down and here, okay, we're 1-0 down. Let's stay in the game and let's not get embarrassed and we can find a way out of this. It's almost like he just loses his head. It's just weird. And then, but then it's weird. The flip side, he did drag us out. He dragged us out. He pulled us out of jail at the weekend there. But yeah, like you said, it's all about the consistency of a captain. It can't be pick and choose when you want to lead. And the leadership thing as well. I think that also ties in with what we are as a team in a club. Casemiro's fallen off a cliff. Varane, like you said, even these things like Lindelof the weekend, he's ill. What's that mean? What's that mean exactly? How sick do you have to Reguilon played when he was had a vomiting bug? It is do you have what it takes do you want to play? Will you play through the pain? Will you play through illness? Whatever. You do hear other players being yeah, he took it out, took some Panadol and played. It's just how bad you have to be not to play. Do you not want to redeem yourself after bad results? So yeah, those kind of Casemiro, Rash, we've kind of dragged. That's what United are. We drag people down to our level almost. Casemiro was this unsung hero of the Real Madrid dynasty and the leader, setting the example. And now he's kind of at us, and you're kind of wondering is he overweight? Does he not? There's these weird. It's but I think it's a culture thing at the club that it's kind of it's casual. You play well for a little bit, get all the praise, and then you kind of take the foot off the gas. Whereas, which kind of seemed to be the case when we won the Carabao Cup. For everyone, all of us, I presume we all agree that was this is the launch pad, hopefully, for bigger and better things. Whereas it almost felt for our squad, it was oh, we've reached the mountaintop now, we can just fall off. And we've barely played well since. So I don't know, what is it? The culture there's issues everywhere, and it's just the issue is just 2023 Man United basically these days.
Exactly. Talking about issues, so Rashford's come out today and commented on a post from a very popular social media platform and fan group, the United Stand, where they came out and did a video about his future and rumours of him leaving, etc. And they've obviously, kind of quite vocal, mentioning about him going out after the derby, etc. I mean, to be honest, it's not ideal, really. One of your top players coming out on social media and asking one of the fan groups to stop spreading rumours. I mean, what do you think that was in terms of a correct decision, or should he just have let that slide? Steve, I think I'll start with you.
It just doesn't matter, does it? It's all just people have opinions. I actually haven't watched the video, so I don't particularly know what was said. But if they're saying things and spreading rumours that are going to be dragging him down, then fair enough. But yeah, I think people have the right to defend themselves. Of course they do. On social media, he's got a social media platform and a profile. And if people are directly addressing him, then he's of course well within his rights to do whatever he can to stop rumours that people might jump on and make things worse. And I actually think if these players came out more and did that, then there wouldn't be anywhere near as much going around in the media, any much fake news, any much, let's say we're after, or every news outlet say that we're after Victor Osimhen in January, and then Richard Arnold comes and does a press conference and says we're not gonna go for Osimhen in January. Then there's no more talk about it. There's no more this, that. There's no fan backlash about why the club dithering, dallying, why they're not going and pressing ahead and getting all these players. Like if rumours are addressed at the source as soon as they come out, then there'd be a hell of a lot less noise in the media. But obviously, can't all be. So there is an argument to say, as soon as there are rumours and all this talk around you, you of course should defend yourself. But yeah, it's all just a bad situation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I totally agree. Obviously, you can defend yourself, and he's obviously got a social media platform, and if he feels things are being said about him which aren't accurate, by all means, I guess he's in his right to do that. But it just kind of again puts us in that kind of bit of a circus kind of atmosphere at the moment, in the club, where things like this just don't help. I mean, for a team to be successful, everyone needs to be on the same kind of hymn sheet and moving in one direction. And when you've got your players coming out and being frustrated with what's been said about them from their own supposed fan media outlets, it is, like I said, it's not ideal. How about yourself, Peter? I mean, do you think it was the right step for him to come out today and use that tool? Or
yeah, I agree with both of you said. Like, it is just like another day in the life of United, just the soap opera. Like, God, like you never get like a quiet day. But like, I didn't watch that video. I don't think I've ever willingly watched any of their stuff, because one, it's just all making up nonsense and making up shouts to get engagement on Twitter and YouTube, and like fair play, they get it, but like they don't represent United fans at all. But I do think he's right, because there's been a lot of talk now with Rashford. He's obviously been in poor form. Obviously the thing with the birth thing, and then he didn't play at the weekend. And I think he's just like, I am committed to Man United. I don't need, I think he's just like, I'm just going to focus on like come back from my injury or whatever's wrong with him and just getting his stuff in order. So I think he's smart just to cut out that nonsense. And I think it's so unhelpful. Like, that isn't, like, they're just making things worse for him, making things worse for the team, making things worse for Ten Hag, and making things worse for the club. And that is the thing. Like, like United fans, especially online, like, they thrive off negativity, and they thrive off like they just putting the team down, doing X, Y, Z, and it just doesn't help. And it's one of the issues at the club. Like, there's just a toxic atmosphere, especially with the online fans. Who, like, how many of them go to Old Trafford, and how many of them even truly care when we win or lose? So no, I thought he was wise to do it, but now it's like, okay, Rashford, like, you've addressed that. Can you please start performing, because you've been absolutely awful this season? And he's another one, like, he was brilliant last season, and it's like, you just build on it. Like, it's all consistency. We have players who can be good for a month, and then they just drop back to a level where it's like, you're just awful again. Whereas, like, any top team in United in the past, it was like Steve said, like with Bruno, been like, it's every game. There's none of this like taking weeks off and we lost 3-0. Here's a social media apology. So that's all for Rashford now. If you address that, you'll get criticised. All I want to judge Rashford is what he does on the pitch. I don't care that he went to his brother's birthday party, and I thought it was like embarrassing journalism. And what they do with black footballers, especially certain newspapers, they did it with Sterling the whole time. They try to make out like them being a normal person is like a crime, whereas like they celebrate Jack Grealish going out getting leathered. Like all for Jack Grealish enjoying himself at times, but there's no consistency and it's not fair. So now it's addressed. Let's just focus on the football for Rashford.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the most important thing is how he performs on the pitch. But like I said again, going back to that City game, I was really disappointed, especially with him, just because it seemed like there was a bit of a lack of effort. I mean, what do you think has changed, and why do you think he's not, really putting in that effort to kind of chase people down and just be a bit more energetic on the pitch and fighting for balls, etc. What's happened to Rashford of last season, Steve?
He got a new contract. He's got his 300 grand a week. Maybe he was playing for it. You've heard stories about people, doing. I remember a few years ago when Dimitar Berbatov had a brilliant start to the season. I think he was at Fulham at the time. People were saying he's had a fantastic. I think he scored like 5 goals in his first 3 or 4 games, and then he got quite a good FIFA rating, and that in the FIFA game, and then all of his performances dropped off, and people were saying, "Oh, now he's got a good rating on FIFA, he can stop playing." You do wonder people's motivations, to be fair, but obviously that's not going to be it. But if you're getting a contract on 300 grand a week, plus appearance fees, plus goal bonuses, he's getting so much money. Then who just, if you're motivated by success, great. If you're motivated by money, great. But if you're getting that kind of money, then now that he's reached the pinnacle, and that's this will be the biggest contract that he ever has. That's not, unless he goes to Saudi or something like that. Then you can just see that being his main motivation at the moment, and especially because we're not performing particularly well. Is he going to want to really get stuck in and roll his sleeves up and get in the mud and get tackling? And he's never been that kind of player. Similar to Bruno, if it's going well, it's going. If it's going well, it's going great. If it's not, he's not going to come and drag you through at times. I know he scored some important goals last season, but I don't think he particularly performed absolutely he wasn't inspiring on the pitch for me. But yeah, it's a really funny one with Rashford, considering Jekyll and Hyde, what's going to change? Is this his level now? Has he just dropped off so much now he's got his contract? Is that it? It's that's the only thing that I can potentially think of, unless he's injured and carrying injuries again.
I have a slight, maybe not a theory, but I thought people have said it before. A friend of mine actually said to me, being like, when United are going badly, like Rashford is no doubt a Man United fan. Like he grew up a United fan, all his family support United. I'd imagine all his friends do. So like that is a pressure in itself as well, being like the local lads. And he does get pelters when we do badly. And there is a section of the fan base just seem to hate him. I don't get it, because I'm like, there's no doubt Rashford's a good player. He's a good person. Like, there's a lot of good things off the pitch. But we're just judging them on, like I said, judging them on what they do on the pitch. It's almost like United going badly. Does it affect him so much that we're doing crap that he can't, like, it almost breaks him almost? Or is this been kind of like the story of his career? Like, he came in 2016, he's been through numerous managers, the highs, the lows, that it's almost like, I just go up and down as the club does, Like, he was very, very poor. I know he was injured, but he was very poor at the end of Ollie's tenure. And does it affect him, or is he kind of like, he just goes with the flow of things, of how bad it's going? And I keep going back to it. It's just a culture at United that's been there for 10 years of, it just doesn't really matter if you don't play well. And I was like, come on, Ten Hag, don't do what Solskjaer did at the end of his tenure, when he was just picking the same lads who were letting him down every week. like he kept picking Maguire and Shaw, and they kept it like letting him down and getting battered by Liverpool and City. I was like, Rashford needs to be dropped. Like, you need a kick up the backside. Hopefully this week is that kick, because we need him. Like, and we need just everyone at the moment to be rowing in the same direction. To be fair, at least he didn't do a Sancho on it and start saying, like, coming out with some nonsense statement. I think he will work hard, but it just is like, come on, like, we need you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a funny thing you mentioned about kind of culture, and I think that definitely has been there. Just accepting, kind of poor performances it seems to be the case with managers in the past. But Sabitzer came out today as well with a few comments about his time at United. He was very kind of positive about Ten Hag and how he is as a manager. Just a couple of sound bites. He was saying he comes up with a very specific pattern to play. But if you have too many important players missing, results will change. He said you can wake him up at 3 a.m. in the morning and he'll tell you the whole match plan by his heart. He's knowledgeable about football tactics, works very hard, a perfectionist. It's come from a player that doesn't really need to kind of, show Ten Hag in the best possible light, because really he's got nothing to do with the club anymore. But that doesn't sound like a manager that will be happy with players just not playing well or just, putting up with poor performances. So, surely it just can't be the manager again, Steve.
No, and I think our issue with the squad that we've got at the moment, and it has been for years, and it's not going to change until we get proper investment, is the fact that we've not got any depth. The people who are coming in aren't anywhere near the level of the first team. They're just not. We've mentioned it throughout this particular pod and every pod this season, pretty much. We've never had a full strength team. Whoever's second choice can't lace the boots of the first player. So you see in some of the best teams, if Andy Robertson gets injured for Liverpool, Kostas Tsimikas comes in and does a great job because he's a good player. He'd almost be starting for United. And that's with Liverpool. You've got Darwin, who is hot and cold, but then you've got Jota, who comes in and he scores when he plays. You've got Gakpo, who's a great player. You've got Luis Diaz, who scored the other day. Those players, they've got 5 quality forwards, Liverpool. We've got, on their day, Højlund, we've not seen his day yet, so we don't know, but he's performing quite well and showing some promise. On his day, Rashford's unplayable. On his day, Garnacho is electric. But if these guys aren't playing, if Rashford doesn't play, Garnacho has a decent game. If Anthony doesn't play, Pelistri's going to come on, and he wouldn't get in the squad of a Liverpool or a City or an Arsenal. Like these players alone. Like in an ideal world, we'd have another great understudy for Rashford, and Garnacho would be on loan. In an ideal world, because if he was on City's books, he'd be on loan. He'd be at Girona in Spain on loan. So these kind of players aren't going to be able to perform as well and perform the types of patterns of play that we were so good at last season, just because they're not good enough. So, it's all well and good saying he's got great patterns and he's got great plans and everything like that, but you need to do that. You need to make best with what you've got, and you can't just hope that your best team are going to play every week, because they're not. It's tricky. It's really bad depth, I think.
I think there's another thing he mentioned as well. He said that Casemiro, Luke Shaw, and Martinez are all leaders in the squad, and he mentioned that before. Are there leaders in there? Supposedly, he says these guys are ones which provide structure and stability to the team. So, is there an argument? Obviously, all three out of the 3, Casemiro has featured the most, but for the most part of the season, Shaw, Martinez haven't featured, and now Casemiro seems to be out for a few weeks. So, without looking for excuses, could you say it is the injuries which, are having an effect on the way that we play, not only from the ability of these players, but the fact that we seem to be missing leaders, supposedly, from what Sabitzer says on the pitch.
Yeah, I think they're obviously all mitigating factors. There's a million mitigating factors at United at the moment, like the ownership, the takeover saga, the fan base. There's a million things: the manager, the players, people out of form. Injuries obviously do come into it. There's still no excuse for United to be playing this badly. Like there's side issues. It does make sense, like Shaw and Martinez, like the build to play from the back. Like they're the only two ones who are good playing from the back. The only two ones who can break the lines. Shaw is a very good carrier of the ball. Obviously links well with Rashford, but links well with the midfield. Crossing, geez, Hoyland would love to have Shaw whipping a ball into him because no one else can cross a ball in our squad seemingly. Yeah, like they're obviously issues, but even Casemiro, like I know he's out now, but Casemiro hasn't been playing for us this season. I'm pretty sure we got like a body double or something. Someone else came back this preseason because he's been just like Casemiro's been a disgrace this season for us, and shows how bad we are that he's currently still our top scorer with 4 goals, and we dominate with 3 in the league. So yeah, like they were massive parts of why we were good last season. I thought Martinez was sensational last season, bar the 7-0 at Anfield, but he was very, very good for us. And he was our best passer, and he was probably our most creative player almost. And even for Onana does not have anyone he can pass the ball to from the back. Like, I know you said Maguire earlier passed the ball well, but Maguire takes so long to move with the ball. He stands on it for ages. Mm-hmm. Teams can set, whereas Martinez is like snappy passing. He just gets the ball quickly. We move much quicker with them. So yeah, they're big losses, but they're just like they're talking about like the style of play and the patterns. I think the players don't know what. I think there's a big disconnect between what Ten Hag wants them to do and what they want them to do, because last season Ten Hag was really clear in what he wants to do. And if he's trying to change it now, the message just doesn't seem to be getting through. So yeah, there's like 1,000,001 issues with United at the moment, and injuries obviously are one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward now. We've got Copenhagen coming up away in the Champions League, a must win game. As we all kind of agreed, performances haven't been great for the last couple of months, really, even if we have won games. If you're Ten Hag, Steve, how are you setting up against Copenhagen? Same team from the weekend, or
I don't know. I've got a really weird opinion about the Champions League this year. Like, we either have to get through or we should just throw every game. Like, we cannot get into the Europa League. We cannot be in it. Like, Thursday, Sunday killed us last season. Absolutely killed us. And got to April and got to February, March, won the Carabao Cup, and then everything just went off. So being out of the Carabao Cup this season could be a blessing, because we get to those weeks, we actually get a full week's worth of preparation and training. And I think at the moment, like Peter, you just mentioned, if we're trying to change the way that we play, we're playing 3 games a week. We can't train. We can't train and do repetition of those phases and passages of play that the manager might want. So he might want this style, but they've only got half a day to train it. It's just not doable. So if we get to a point where we go out of the Champions League, that'll save our season. And I can almost you're thinking if we're not in the Carabao Cup, if we're not in Europe, and we've got a week to prepare for games in the Premier League or even the FA Cup, because I think a lot of the times FA Cup has weekend games rather than midweek games. If we have weeks in between rather than 2 days for these players to get it through their skulls how the manager wants to play, it's going to set us up for a much better season, I think, and a lot more success. But because we all know we're not going to win the Champions League, so there's no point being. I say there's no point. You get money, and it's great for the fans, and of course it is. It's great. I want to watch United play every day, but I think to take a step back, you'd take steps forward. But I think in terms of the game plan for tomorrow, if we're going to be wanting to win, then I think we have to win that game. So we're going to have to keep playing our strongest team. And at the moment, with the amount of injuries that we've got, I don't know that we've really got much choice to not rotate. But I think Casemiro is suspended, so it'll be Amrabat. Mason Mount's not. Mason Mount's name hasn't come up in this podcast Yeah.
Amazingly. He doesn't seem to come up in Ten Hag's thoughts either. So
49.5 minutes, Mason Mount hasn't been mentioned in this podcast, and we just bought him for 60 million quid. What's going on there? So that could be a full-on podcast. But yeah, he should be playing. Get him on the right. If he doesn't want him in the middle, get him on the right. Get Garnacho on the left. Højlund up front. A midfield three of Bruno, Amrabat, and McTominay, and then your back four of Wan-Bissaka, Evans, Maguire, and Dalot or Reguilon, and then Onana and net, and that's a team that should be winning that game. But yeah, we'll just have to see.
I'd surely Varane. I don't know what's going on there, but like his nickname on social media is Champions League Varane. I'd rather Varane playing against Copenhagen. They looked a decent side when we played them last time. They have a good record at home, but again, like we made them look decent, because we were awful. But yeah, like you said, like it doesn't matter what team United should put out. United should 100% be beating Copenhagen. And that's not even disrespect to Copenhagen, but there's a big gulf in the leagues they play in, the amount of money our players make, and how much they cost, and so on. So there's no excuse for us not to win. I would like to see Mount play on the right again. I don't know what's going on there, because it's all like it. Everyone thought like that's a Ten Hag signing. He really wanted Mason Mount. It was a bit of a coup, like we beat Liverpool and maybe Arsenal were linked a little bit, but it seemed like that's a really good sign. And I was looking forward to seeing Mason Mount play for us. I'd have him on the right because Anthony just is putting in zeros, like, and you can't. The rumours of like that there's a favouritism thing towards Anthony. Those ring true when he's getting picked over other players and he's playing so poorly. And I think Mount could do the job. Mount's probably quicker than him. He better cross for the ball. It also gives you a bit more like solidity in midfield. You've got more men. So I definitely have Mason Mount playing. I think if Rashford's fit, he will play on the left. But yeah, like there's no excuse for us not to win. And also I think it's kind of funny. Like I completely agree with you. If we are not, I won't watch Europa League. I'm sorry. Like I can't do it again, especially falling into the Europa League. There's just nothing worse than it. I'd rather come bottom and miss out on everything. Mm-hmm. But it's a bit funny, like, we'll come bottom in we'll throw the Champions League so we can try and qualify for it next season and focus on the league. But that's kind of just where we are. And yeah, like it's a massive game, and it's not we somehow still are in a position now. If we win our next two games, Copenhagen away and Galatasaray away, we're in the knockouts with a game to spare, amazingly. So that is not a hard task, but we'll make it hard. It'll be a disaster. That's like, I'm not looking forward to the game at all on Wednesday. You kind of know what's going to happen. It's going to be scrappy. It's going to be a struggle. And yeah, like hopefully, like it's written in the stars that Højlund, his brother, will be one of his younger twin brothers will be on the bench probably again. And he played for Copenhagen himself. They sold him, like they didn't rate him. They sold him to Sturm Graz for like $1 million. So you'd hope that Højlund is like, I'm going to make you guys, like, you should have never have sold me for, like, you discarded me 2 years ago, and he'll like shove it to them. So yeah, it's written in the stars if he scores or like Eriksen scores. Yeah, I'd bite your hand off for a 1-0 like deflected own goal last second. So yeah, it's going to be the usual.
What about you, Steve? If you had to put your neck on the line, what do you think the score's going to be?
I'd bite your hand off for a 5-0 win.
I'd buy more than a hand off for 5-0.
You know what? I'd love a performance. And with a performance will come a win. But like, I just want us to create 40 shots. I want us to have pot shots. I want us to cross the ball. I want us to, if we have Mount on the right and he puts in 3 or 4 crosses that get on Højlund's head and like the passages of play are like wing play and attacking and get Garnacho attacking the right back, creating chances for Højlund. I want him to have even if he misses them all, just create chances and have more than 4 shots. And I think I'd love just a performance where you can just say we've just give it a good go and we've run him off the park and we've fought and battled and created chances. And yeah, I'd love a performance. That's just it's time, isn't it? It's time. It's November now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been so long since you've watched United and been like, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Yeah. It's just, I can't actually, like, by that Carabao game, but like the last time, I can't even remember, like,
I didn't even go to the Carabao game because it wasn't my turn. It was my brother and my dad who went. So I didn't even go to that game. So I haven't seen us perform this season.
Jesus.
Well, funnily enough, I would say performance-wise, I'd say one of our best or better performances was actually when we lost against Arsenal. Like in terms of, I think we were quite unlucky to lose that game. But overall, we gave them a really, really good performance, really good game. We were attacking, creating chances. We played really well that game. And I thought that was going to be a bit of a turning point for us. But it didn't quite pan out. But hey, I think that's it for us this week. We'll be back next Monday, hopefully, talking about a couple of wins.
We'll be talking about Tahith Chong scoring the winner on his return to Old Trafford, I'd imagine. And Mengi putting in like a unbelievable performance that makes us rude that we ever sold him. But we'll see.
Exactly. It was most probably going to be the case. But yeah, thank you everyone who joined us this week. We'll be back next Monday. See you guys then. Cheers.